Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video, as Labour ramp up their focus on deportations and cracking down on illegal immigrants, though at least unlike the Tories, they actually mean genuinely illegal immigrants, I'd like to explain not only how this cannot possibly work for Labour, but how they've got some absolutely massive guns to use against Nigel Farage and Reform UK, and they're just not using them. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So I discussed recently how a group of Labour MPs, where Reform UK finished second to them last year, were wanting the government to lean into immigration policies and outcomes. I explained, as I will again in a moment, how this is futile and they should instead focus on the NHS and cost of living. But it looks like Starmer has heeded the pressure and the Home Office are going full in your face on deportations. In terms of the promotion, that is, it's pointless. Let me explain quickly why that is. First of all, yes, Labour are deporting record numbers of migrants, all perfectly legal, no friction with the courts, and sure, this will appeal to some people. But if those people who find this news appealing will use their vote based on this policy area above all others, they're still more likely to vote Reform UK. Why? Because on the same day Labour are trying to promote their deportations more heavily, the Tory media is saying, oh, the ECHR is stopping us deporting people because of chicken nuggets. There's no way to win the PR campaign on this policy platform. It's like Labour have looked at the first Duke of Wellington, Sir Arthur Wellesley, and got, oh, let's follow his tactics. And it's like, yeah, you should be following his military tactics, not his political tactics. Because as a politician, Sir Arthur Wellesley was a disaster. He led the Tory party, right? And he was the last one to do so because he killed them off. And they then had to merge it with the Peelers, I think it was, into what is now the modern Conservative Party. But he basically killed off the Tories as they were, just like Badenoch is killing off the Conservative Party as it is now. But as a military man, oh, he's a genius at picking his battlegrounds. He knew on which ground to fight and how to use that ground. He was famous for it. Labour should follow that advice. Immigration is not good ground on which to fight Nigel Farage. Doesn't matter how many they deport, Farage will claim he'll deport even more. No chicken nuggets will get in his way. Doesn't matter how much net migration comes down, Farage is claiming it will be zero if he's elected. His policies don't have to be credible because the people he's appealing to don't trust fact checkers. Labour cannot outbid him on immigration and they shouldn't try. But, of course, they can't just let Farage have free rein. Am I suggesting they just ignore him? No, they absolutely need to take him and head on. And they can do so. They have two massive arsenals with which to do this, and those key voters care more about these two than even immigration. The NHS and cost of living. Now, I don't know exactly what state the NHS will be in come the next election. I know that waiting lists will be lower by millions. I know that there will be a noticeable improvement. Those swing voters may be sceptical of immigration, if not downright hostile in some cases, but they care about the NHS more. But we won't see those improvements for some time. Labour could try to talk about the NHS more, but they can't demonstrate improvements just yet. But there's an even bigger gun in their locker and they can use it right now. The Employment Rights Bill is passing through Parliament. It's at the report stage of the House of Commons, which means there's a couple more tweaks, which I've looked at them. I don't seem to mind those personally. Then it's on to the third reading. Then it's on to the House of Lords. It'll be in law later this year. And it's riotously popular with the sort of voters Labour and Reform UK are fighting over. What's more, the TUC went canvassing in Clacton. And they found some people who seem to like Nigel Farage. And they weren't at all happy to hear that he'd voted against the biggest boost to workers' rights in at least a generation, maybe like my lifetime. This huge piece of legislation is going to give ordinary workers more job security, more protections, more bargaining power, which means more money in their pockets. It's good for businesses as well, because most businesses treat their workers well enough, so they won't need to do anything different, but it stops the minority of rogue businesses undercutting the good ones by screwing over their workers, right? Massively popular. And Farage is voting against it. And unlike improvements to the NHS, this is happening right now. People don't have to wait and see the impact to know they approve of this. They know that getting your rights earlier is better. They know that banning fire and rehire is good. They know that they shouldn't be forced to accept 0 hours contracts if they don't want them. They know they should expect reasonable notice when it comes to shift work. They know that sick pay should be better. People like this legislation. It's one of Labour's big platform policies. It's really popular with voters in and ahhing between Labour and Reform UK. And I cannot tell you why Labour's comms department aren't pushing this like crazy. Given that most of what Labour are doing right now isn't going to become evident to the public for another year, maybe 2 years, why on earth are they hiding their most obviously popular policy? And why are those Muppet Labour MPs looking over their shoulder at Reform UK not wanting to talk about this all the time? Drives me insane. Why aren't they knocking on doors in Barnsley or wherever the hell saying, did you know Reform UK are trying to block our workers' rights laws? Let me go over some of the benefits to you of these laws that Nigel Farage wants to deny you. The cost of living is literally the most important issue for voters. The pound in their pocket, top issue bar none. Even higher than the NHS for many, definitely higher than immigration. Yet Labour MPs want to talk about immigration when it's only the 3rd or 4th most important policy area to these people, depending on which poll you look at, and where they have no chance of outbidding Farage's fantasy policies. Yet they're turning down the chance to talk about the most important policy area and one where they are delivering right now and Farage is trying to block it. Can I just make a suggestion for Labour for the next election? See, given that the party ended up selecting loads of candidates bypassing the CLP input last year, if they're going to take that level of control over candidates, can they at least use it to pick some candidates that aren't as thick as mince for the next election? Because if there's one thing worse than a thick Tory, it's a thick Labour MP. After all, there's benefits to Tories being a bit thick. It stops them selling off Channel 4 or getting rid of human rights laws, both tasks that Boris Johnson gave to Nadine Dorries and Dominic Raab respectively. Fortunately, they were too thick to manage it. But I'd rather the MPs trying to bring positive change to people were a bit brighter, if that's not too much to ask. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.